It's really great to be here with you. My name is Rachel Hutchisson, and I have the honor and pleasure of leading corporate social responsibility for Blackbaud. It is really wonderful to be here with you today. And it really is an honor and pleasure to do the work that I do. And I say that because in addition to the focus on social good that I have in my own company and my own work, I get to work for a company that is so focused on good itself that through its technology and its data and its expertise powers an ecosystem of good. So our customers, individuals, nonprofits, all different kinds of nonprofits, grant making foundations, and companies are agents of good. So, working at the intersection of all this good teaches us a lot of things. And at a time when we're all feeling a lot of hardship for many different reasons, it is important to remember that there is good around us. So, what I'd like to do today is share with you a couple of data points of reasons to be hopeful, to share with you some things that we know to be true when we look at the data that we see at this intersection of social good. So, the first data point I want to share with you, or the first headline I want to share with you, is that giving is resilient. So when you look at giving in the US over the last 40 years, through wars and recessions and disasters, what you see is resiliency. So there are off years for sure, but giving in the US has consistently increased year over year. And the average increase for giving in the US is actually $7 billion a year. So if you want to learn more about this, I would encourage you to look for the Giving USA Foundation report. It's called Giving USA. It comes out every June. So in a couple of weeks, the new one will be out, and you can learn more. Blackbaud's really proud to support that. So the next headline I'd give you is that people who are generous and engaged continue to engage. And it's an election year. It's a big election year right now, presidential election. And people often say, well, I feel badly about all those nonprofits because people are giving to political campaigns and therefore they wouldn't be giving to other kinds of nonprofits. And you know what? We said, let's step back and let's look at this data we have and let's see if that's true. So we looked at 400,000 political donors who gave a total of $800 million to political campaigns. And guess what? They gave more than $800 million to other causes. So what that tells us is that engagement really matters. So the third headline I'd like to give you is that when someone gives, they continue to give. Generosity kind of begets generosity. So what I mean by this is that, sure, during times that are tough, particularly like times right now, you will see the number of donor households going down. The number of people who give decreases because people have less disposable income. But what we also see is that we looked at data from the Great Recession and we looked at people who continued to give during that time. And guess what we found? Donors that continued to give actually gave 40% more. So that's pretty hopeful. So that's looking at data in the past. And I wanted to stop and say, well, what are we seeing right now? And I mean right now. And I want to share with you three things that we're seeing. And the first is a campaign that you might have heard of, and it was led by Captain Tom Moore, a 100-year-old veteran in the UK who decided to mark his 100th birthday by walking 100 lengths of his garden. He used Just Giving, which is a free crowd fundraising platform that Blackbaud provides, and he set an audacious goal of raising £1,000. So a couple of weeks later, guess what happened? He had raised $40 million. He beat his goal by 6,000%. He had at one point more people, so many people were coming into the system that I think we were processing something close to $57,000 or $58,000 a minute, which is just astounding. The sheer magnitude of this campaign. And it actually is now the world's largest individual crowd fundraising campaign ever. So Captain Tom ended up getting donations from 1.5 million people around the world. And what he taught us is that generosity is alive and well. We're also seeing the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, love Fiona the Hippo. So very in-person experience. They quickly pivoted to an online experience and became a vital resource for parents and children. So what they did is created home safari, and it's a zookeeper and an animal, casting out through the web, and they ended up having 20 million online viewers within weeks. And what's interesting as well is they spun up a donation program, and they were able to increase new donors, or their donors, by 500%. So we can't go to the zoo, but the zoo is coming to us. And that's a reason to be hopeful. So the third example I want to give you is PepsiCo. And as a CSR person, I do love talking about companies. The PepsiCo Foundation has a long-standing project around hunger with Rise Against Hunger. In 2019, they worked with their 40,000 employees of PepsiCo to donate 1.1 million nutritious meals. And they quickly pivoted this past March and made, along with PepsiCo, a $45 million investment committing to 50 million meals for at-risk populations. They added $2 million to a special matching gift fund for employees, and they used their brand in the One World Together, Global Citizen One World Together effort that was on TV on April 18th, to really use their brand to bring unity and bring people together. And I call this out because I don't think that companies get enough credit in this ecosystem of good for the really good work they do in social good. And that should not surprise you, since I am a CSR professional. But I did a TEDx talk a couple of years ago, and it focused on this fundamental idea, a very simple idea, that companies are made up of people, and we shouldn't forget that. And they walk in the door, literally or virtually, every day with their whole selves. And they want you to listen to them. They want them to be heard. They want to be given choice, and they want you to engage them. And that is true more than ever. So looking at a couple of data points, very recent data points, we're seeing in the companies that use our system for CSR and employee engagement that companies that offer a COVID-19 specific fundraising campaign are getting engagement that's 15 times higher than usual. 15 times. We're also seeing gifts on our system coming in May for a 2-week period. There was a volume of about 58,000 donation transactions per hour, which is showing you that people are being generous. So generosity is flowing. And when I look to the future, I am hopeful that this will continue. And when I look at Captain Tom and the Cincinnati Zoo and PepsiCo, I feel a sense of being reassured. And I'm reminded that there is a spirit that flows through the ecosystem of good. And that spirit is generosity, and it is alive and well. I'm also reminded that we live in a world that is both global and hyperlocal, and that we need all systems and organizations working together to rebuild that fabric, that social fabric that we rely on, and make it stronger than ever. And I'll close by saying that we need everybody in this community to commit to doing this work, to identifying what is good in the world, to identifying the innovations that are happening right now, and to give them the oxygen that they need to thrive so that we can come out of this better. Thank you.